Laughing Vikings Live. High vibe chats with actors, comedians, and creators, plus stand-up comedy, sketch comedy, and most importantly, you. That's right, join us every Monday for new episodes, and you can be a part of the show on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Twitch. Ask questions and interact in the comments, and make sure to share this with your actor, comedian, and creator friends so they can be a part of the show too. Can't make a live show? No problem. You can catch up on your favorite podcast platform and visit laughingvikings.com to find out how you can join the cast and crew. All right, it's time for today's show. Buckle up and make sure you stick around to the end because we have a special surprise for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is Laughing Vikings Live. Happy Monday Fun Day. Let's go. Oh, hey there, Brandon. I didn't realize the podcast was on.
It is today, Lars.
Oh, hello.
Happy Thursday, everybody.
Is that what you're celebrating with that beverage I see in the studio?
It is. It's nothing quite like a Thursday if you don't have a beer.
Well, look what I found here.
Or a beverage. Ooh.
I also found one. Shout out to Adam Daniel Mazet. Who was just in here doing a voiceover session, and he likes to bribe his session directors with beer and or snacks. Usually he comes with it's the two Adams that do that. It's Adam Daniel Mazet and Adam Langton. Adam Langton often brings Gatorade for us, and Adam Daniel Mazet brings sometimes beer, sometimes corn chips, chocolate bars, protein bars. He brought us these giant matzo crackers that they're the largest crackers I've ever seen. They're like traditional.
You make
crackers.
pizzas, little pizzas out of them. You bake them in the oven for like 10 minutes, 7 minutes maybe. So good.
I've just been making a little bit of peanut butter. I just smear it on my little.
I've also done that.
Little snack. Yeah.
Adam Daniel Mazet gave me a whole box of those crackers, and so I have like a year's supply of them. And
he left fantastic. 2 here as well. You got some as well? Yeah. Too much.
I love it. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. Yes. And we are here today. This is episode 90. 90.
That's ridiculous.
If the podcast was a person, we might have to be putting the podcast into a home soon, an assisted living center with round-the-clock nurses, maybe a wheelchair.
Ooh.
Except that podcasts aren't like people. Podcasts get better with age. They don't start to break down and have all kinds of ailments. Trust us, this podcast has no issues with Alzheimer's or dementia. We know exactly what we're doing every day. And we will cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Yes. So we got a great episode. When we do get into it, we're going to talk about rehearsing and learning your lines. I know that's a big challenge for some actors, especially when you're new and you haven't quite developed that muscle of how to get all these words. And all of a sudden you have an audition that's due tomorrow morning and you got to crunch 9 pages of dialogue or a big fat monologue. And or when you're actually on set, you'd be on a TV show and the morning of, you think you're shooting one scene and they're like, nope, today we're shooting this. And they slap a big bunch of sides on your lap in the makeup chair. And you got half an hour to figure it out and make sure that you nail it when you're on set. So that's what we're going to talk about, is how to rehearse and really how to learn those lines. And notice we're purposely not using the word memorize lines. And that's something that we've been taught, is memorizing is an intellectual activity where you're just memorizing the lines, but it's really learning the scene, learning the words of the scene. So you want it in your body, and acting is not an intellectual activity only. It's head, heart, hips. You got to be a full person. So if you just learn it like it's a math equation, or you learn it like you're drilling like an acronym or something like that. Then you have to do a whole second step to unlearn how you've quote unquote memorized it, and then get it in your body and get the intention and feeling and meaning behind it. So we're going to talk about that. But first, we've got some shout outs, do we? Yeah, we got a little
Yes,
shout out.
we do. Did you want to start us off, Lars?
Yeah, actually, I will shout out Chris Robinson. I just saw on his agency's Facebook page today, Grand Wave Entertainment. Shout out to Morgan and Carolyn that they posted that Crave just renewed Chris's show, the sitcom Pillow Talk on Crave.
Yeah.
They've renewed double the knees for season 2. So congrats. Chris is a lead in that series. They shot it, I believe, in Montreal last tail end of summer, early fall. We helped him with the auditions and the callback here. They're great scripts, super funny. Chris is hilarious in it, so I'm sure he nailed it. And the people have spoken, and the executives at Crave have spoken, and they've renewed for season 2. So congrats, Chris. I'm sure that means he's going to be back on set soon.
He also has a comedy special coming out on Crave as well that's coming out soon. We're not exactly sure of the date, but that is a great job, Chris. You absolutely deserve it. You're one of the funniest people around. So congrats, Chris Robinson.
Yes, Chris Robinson, and he's also a Comedy Alley favorite as well.
Yep.
So if you want to see some of Canada's top comedians as seen on Just for Laughs, JFL 42, Comedy Network, Netflix, Hulu, HBO, CBC, Crave, you can hit up laughingvikings.com/Comedy Alley. We're doing shows every Friday and Saturday. We only sell 20 tickets. We got 20 seats. So you got to reserve them in advance before we sell out. If you got a big birthday coming up, you can book a 10-pack, or maybe you got a work event or a stag and doe, or maybe you just want to get a bunch of family and friends and do something together. You can hit up the birthday pack. And for the comedy lovers, we also have a VIP seasons pass where for one low price, you can get unlimited access to all of the shows for the entire summer. So go to laughingvikings.com/Comedy Alley. Grab those tickets. Tickets here. Who needs tickets? Tickets here. Who needs tickets? Who needs tickets? And actually, while I'm talking about Comedy Alley, this Friday, June 10th, you can come see Natalie Norman, Gavin Stevens, and Sarah Ashby. I'll be hosting, of course. And Saturday, June 11th, we've got Precious Chong, Ryan Dillon, and Sashka DC. So check it out. Grab tickets. They're going like hotcakes. People love hotcakes, and they love comedy. And one day we're going to have a comedy show that also sells hotcakes.
Yeah, hotcakes. Everyone loves hotcakes.
Nobody ever says, oh, they're selling like cold cakes.
I mean,
like regular cold cake.
I don't know how that could be presumed as like a bad thing. Cold cake is great.
I mean, cold cake is really the standard of what cake is. Ice cream cake. You're like, do you mean ice cream cake? No, just cold. They're selling like room temperature cake. We baked a delicious cake. We put it out on the counter. It has been there, and it is.
That's still a good cake.
Selling like room. Maybe the term Brandon wants the term just to be it's selling like cake.
It's selling like cake.
These are let me tell you, the tickets at Comedy Alley are selling like cakes.
They're selling like
hot,
cake, everyone.
Cold, freezing,
all of it.
Lukewarm.
Yep. Ice cream.
So hot the cake has turned into a gas.
Yep.
It's evaporated.
You know what? Maybe that's the line. Gas cake. No one wants gas cake.
Hot cakes. Well, I mean, yeah, it's tough to say.
It is.
If you were walking by like in a farmer's market or like a booth, and one guy's like, get your cake here, and then the next guy's like, hot cakes.
Hey.
All of a sudden there's a line to the hotcakes and someone's saying, wow, those hotcakes are selling like hotcakes.
Ooh.
That cold cake's selling like hotcakes. That makes sense?
Yes.
Wow, this ice cream cake is selling like hotcakes. Nobody ever
Ooh.
says that. That doesn't make sense. Should that be Dairy Queen's new slogan? Our ice cream cakes are it's that time of the year, birthday season, and our ice cream cakes are selling like hot cakes.
It reminds me of
Melted.
the Hercules line. He was so hot, steam looked cool.
Nice. So hot is cool. By the way, those people that are watching live right now, make sure pop off in the comments. Let us know what city you're in. Let us know if you've got questions for us. If you ever want to suggest a topic for an episode, you can do that. If you want to ask questions about Comedy Alley or Actors Audition Club or our workshop Audition Hero that's coming up. We haven't released the date yet, but it'll likely be mid-July. We're going to do another workshop of Audition Hero where we talk about how to up-level your auditions. And we'll be opening the enrollment to Actors Audition Club, and we'll have a new wave of members that we're going to bring on board here. So lots of fun stuff going on, but make sure no matter where you are in the world, let us know in the comments. Just fire it in the comments. Interact. You can be a part of the show. We'll put your comments up on screen. And if you don't have your own podcast, you don't need one, because you can just be on ours every week by commenting and interacting and asking questions. There you go.
Anything you want.
Anything you want. This is a podcast for the people.
Yes.
That's right.
For the people.
We should just sit here until we get questions. Like, we don't do anything. Because I feel like that would put more pressure on people. Like, I got to ask a question now. Otherwise, these guys are just going to sit here not saying or doing anything. But we do and say so much that I think people feel like they don't need to interact and ask questions, because we're already throwing all kinds of gold at them and pearls of wisdom and all kinds of hot cakes in their direction. But if we just came on live and we just sat here until there was a question, and then we snap to it when there's a question. Yeah. So let us know where you're at. And those who are listening right now on the podcast platform, why aren't you tuning in live so you can be a part of the show? But also make sure you subscribe as well. Smash that subscribe button. Actually smash it. I know you have probably $1,000 device, or if you got a Mac, maybe it's $2,000, but smash that subscribe button. Smash it good. Smash it good.
Just take a hammer, destroy that subscribe button.
And then we get sued. Can we get sued? Yeah, I was listening to this podcast and he told me to smash the like button and subscribe button, and I did, and now my $3,000 MacBook is in shattered pieces on the floor, all because they told me to smash the like button. Smash it within reason.
Yeah.
Smash it with
Smash
reason.
It with purpose rather than with force.
Yes. Mentally smash it, but be delicate. Remember, it's
with my head. Just
smash
headbutt it.
Head.
Smash it with your head. Okay.
Smash it with your head.
Now we know.
Smash the like button, because this is episode 90. And you can go back if you're new to the podcast. Make sure you go back into the catalog of epilogues. Catalog of epilogues.
Oh,
catalog of episodes is what I was meaning to say. And you go back, you can cruise those and pick out the ones, pick and choose. We got ones on Shakespeare. We got ones on rehearsal. We got ones on your home studio. We got ones on how to find audition material, how to find an agent, all kinds of stuff. So whether you're brand new or you're an industry vet and you're looking to improve, make sure to go in the back catalog. We are on every podcast platform, so go do that. All right, we got anything else we want to talk about before we get into it?
There is one more client I do want to give a shout out to. Shaquille James Austin will be on The Boys this season. We love Shaquille. Shaquille always comes in super prepared and just has the mindset of a warrior. We absolutely love working with Shaquille. And he's going to be on The Boys episode 5, I believe, which comes out either next week or the week after. So make sure you tune in to Amazon Prime and watch The Boys to see Shaquille James Austin.
Yeah, shout out Shaquille. He's killing it. He's on fire. He's on the up and up. And if you don't see him on TV, you can see him live in the ring, because he's also a professional wrestler, drop kicking people and slamming people. We have a great question here that we can talk about before we get into the topics of the day. Althea Sam. Althea, I hope I'm saying that right. I have a play tonight. I have a tendency to go brain dead, even though I learn my lines. How do you get past the nerves? Well, first of all, congratulations.
Yeah.
You got to play tonight. That's huge.
Back on legs.
Stage. Back on stage.
Crush it.
Yeah, a few things. Maybe I'll go first, Brandon, and you can add in anything.
Yep.
One thing I would say is remember that old adage. I don't know who said it. It might have been Michael Jordan. We love sports analogies. Michael Jordan, maybe it's a Gretzky thing. But practice like you play. So rehearse like it's a show, which requires much more focus and concentration and relaxation and imagination. So make your rehearsals as close to game day. Also, I've heard that the quote is, some people rehearse or practice until they get it right. Other people rehearse and practice until they can't get it wrong. So some of those sometimes nerves are a signal that our brain gives us that we maybe aren't quite prepped as much. So I know you said you've learned your lines, but maybe some of those nerves are there. Could you have spent an extra day or two or more? Like, how many times did you do it? And I think we all underestimate how much it takes. And the answer is it's probably never enough. You could always rehearse it more and do it more. Competence breeds competence. Competence breeds confidence. So the more you've done it, the more you can relax. And then the more you can just be playing, knowing that it's in you. And then the other thing I would say, Althea, is really monitor your own internal self-talk. This is where things like meditation can come in really handy. Affirmations. If you're familiar with Linklater technique and or some of the Alexander techniques of relaxation, a lot of the times those nerves are there regardless, because it's just your own lizard brain in your head recognizing a fear and starting to chatter about, oh, what if I forget my lines? What if I blank on stage? What if I can't remember something? What if I screw up? What if? And then all of a sudden you realize, like, oh, my heart's pounding. I'm breathing shallow. That's another thing. Work on your breathing. So backstage, make sure you're doing full warm-ups and roll downs and maybe a floor routine. Your breath is your connection to your voice and your connection to your emotion, and breathing instantly deep breaths relax you. But monitor that self-talk. So like, and that's tough because a lot of the times we just accept what our internal voice says. And a lot of the times it's saying shit that doesn't help us, but, take control of that self-talk and then switch it to positive. Tonight's going to be a great show. I'm super well rehearsed and I'm going to crush it. And even if I do drop a line, I'm such a great improviser that will find a brilliant moment. And this crowd is going to love the show. You can be like sports, almost like the Olympics, like a skier. They're visualizing every turn and every jump, and they're visualizing themselves at the end of the routine getting the 10.0s from the judge and getting the standing O. So if you find a little mental routine in like backstage or whenever it is, a half an hour before, that involves your breath work and your body work and your stretching and relaxation, but then just really tuning in on what are the positive thoughts and feelings that you want to feel, and all of a sudden you'll feel your body relaxing. And I mean, if you drop a line, you drop a line. No one's ever died because of that too. So it's like worst case scenario. Like that's also part of what makes it thrilling and exciting, is you never know what's going to happen on any given night. And it might not even be you. It might be your scene partner. They skip ahead or they drop something, and then you got to be the one to save the day and steer the ship. Also, one of my director mentors way back in the day he just reminded me that it's not really it's obviously the lines are important to tell the story, but each scene, you got to know the overarching thing of, okay, what is this scene about? What am I doing in this scene? What am I fighting for? What do I want? That way, if you know that, even if a line or two gets dropped or somebody misses a cue, you still know going into this scene, this is what I gotta get. This is what I gotta do. If you have certain actions or some certain blocking, you can use those as like checkpoints throughout the scene or throughout the show as well. So hopefully some of that helps. But I think a lot of those nerves, notice when you're feeling those nerves, notice the thoughts you're thinking, like, oh my God, will I forget a line? Oh, are they going to like me? Oh, there's a lot of people out there. Is this going to go well? Did I rehearse enough? Do I really know this? And all that, like catastrophizing, versus just switch it and be like, you know what? I got this. I'm well rehearsed. I'm well prepared. I'm going to nail it. I can rely on my scene partners. We're a team. The audience doesn't know the lines. Like no one in the audience has got the script being like, hey, wait a second. So it's just relax, concentrate, and then use your imagination. It's supposed to be play, right? So remember, it's as Tom Todoroff always says, it's called a play. It's not called a serious. It's called a play. So it's supposed to be fun.
It is.
That help, Althea? Let us know if any of that helps. Brandon, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, the first thing I always do, Althea, when I go to the theater is I create a relationship with the stage. I do that by sitting in the audience for the first 15 or 20 minutes of getting there and either listening to a couple of my favorite songs or just sitting there in silence and just running the show in my mind. I listen to music and I just visually in my mind watch the show as it goes on. I see the cues. I see myself coming out of the wings and I hit my smark and I go back and I just run through the show in my mind. And when I'm standing in the wings and the show's already going, I take 3 deep breaths, smile, and walk out there. Trust yourself. You can do this. Break a leg tonight. Have so much fun. That's what it's all about. I love that quote from Tom. It's a play. It's not a serious. So go have some fun. That's what it's all about.
Yes, congrats.
Yeah. And I love the point that you said, Lars. You're with a team, Althea. You're with a team of actors and they're there to support you. They've been supporting you throughout the entire rehearsal process. They care about you. They love you. They want to see you succeed. So remember that. Remember that they're there for you.
Right. Yeah. And Tom, our one of our acting coaches often mentions know your own nervous system too. So if you find you're getting nerves, then you might look at your rehearsal process. And maybe for some people, maybe that means they need to rehearse more and they need to work more on their lines so that like if you think here's where you are, then double that or triple it and then see how your body and your nerves feel. And then that's even backstage, doing your breath work, doing your relaxation, doing some kind of meditation / visualization, paying attention to the words. So at some point in the future, I'll find them, but there's a few spacing on her name, but there's an acting coach who's put out some meditation / affirmation visualization, and it's her in your ear, but walking you through the positive feelings and positive affirmations and visualizations that you want to have pre-show or backstage, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Oh, that's
there you go. Congrats. She says, oh, Althea says she misses Tom's class. Well, every Saturday he does the workshop. So
yeah,
you can pop back
come
in
join us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Great.
Yeah, great question.
Yeah.
Again, break a leg. Yeah, have fun. All right. So you want to get into the topic at hand, Lars?
Yeah, let's get into it. We're going to talk about it's really right on topic here with Althea's question is learning lines. And again, the caveat that we want to mention is people often use the term, I got to memorize lines. You might argue that we're just arguing semantics here, but there is something that's just cerebral and intellectual about memorizing lines. And I find if that's what you're thinking of memorizing lines, you'll do that step first. And then you still have to get it into your body and emotions and feeling like it's It's head, heart, hips. You need to be a full human being.
Mhm.
And also memorizing it. If you, depending on how you're attempting to do that, you may be learning it in such a way that you're drilling the cadence or the tempo or the intonation, so that you're not flexible. Like, you have to learn it in such a way that you're completely flexible. You can do it different in different scenarios. You can react to your scene partner differently based on what they give you. If your director says, gives you a line read or asks you to do it a different way, you got to be flexible. So the words got to be in you and in your body, but not etched in stone. Like, this is how I say it. This is the exact punctuation, and this is when I pause, and this is when I look over here, and this is when I shrug, and this is when I wink, and all this stuff where you're inflexible. You have to be very flexible when you learn this.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about ways to do that. Brandon, number 1, you want to bring it up there?
Yep.
Oh, and let's just preface this too. Something that, so say this is a TV film audition or a theater audition. The first thing you want to do is look at the breakdown and all the info that you're given on the breakdown. So learn about the world of the show. So watch a few episodes of it, figure out who the producers, the writers are. You could look up what else they've written. If you know the casting director, then maybe you know some of their
preferences.
What's the word? Yeah, just like their do's and don'ts, or how they like things to be done tape wise, because every casting director sometimes has a little different preferences. And then the other thing that we like to do, and this is something that we were taught, is rewrite the entire script, removing punctuation and removing all unimportant stage directions. If you can remove all stage directions, great, but some things like he raises his gun or he shoots his gun, like that might be something that for sure, like, you can't miss that beat. But if it's something like he says Riley, or he shrugs, or he raises an eyebrow, it's like all that stuff is something that the writer has put in there. But I think if you're watching 50 to 100 tapes and everyone's verbatim following punctuation, meaning they're pausing on every comma, they're giving a beat after every period, and they're following all that exactly the way it's written, it can be very robotic, and all the reads are going to sound the same. And a lot of that writing is just it's the writer sort of making suggestions, but it's you or the actor, it's your body, it's your voice. On the day, the blocking is going to be all different if you're on TV. So the nice thing about removing punctuation and removing some of those secondary stage directions, even things like sit and stand in an audition, you can just sit or you can just stand. Often you don't have to worry about that kind of blocking, because that's all stuff that'll be worked out on the day, but doesn't have to be part of your audition. But when you do that, especially the punctuation, then you bring it to life, you bring it off the page. Your reads are going to be unique and more human. Tom always talks about acting at the speed of life, and bringing it to life. And humans we don't speak with punctuation. We just speak like just one run-on sentence for the most part, and every once in a while we earn a pause. But when you can, it's a real telltale sign when especially if you watch a bunch of auditions in a row, if everyone's taking a breath after every period and leaving a beat after a period, it's just so slow. And a lot of scenes, they need that to have the type of energy and emotion. They also need to have that overlap, where it's not me saying my line, then waiting for you to say your line, then I say my line. It's got to be like a real furious back and forth game of ping pong, where I'm jumping on the last thing that you say, you're jumping on the last thing that I say. Maybe we're cutting each other off a little bit. And then you'll watch that and be like, ooh, this is juicy. But if you slow it all down and play all the punctuation, and I'm waiting for you and you're waiting for me, you're just like, this is just a boring soap opera with no life in it. And that's not like, watch people on the street, watch an argument on a street corner, watch a husband and wife arguing in a restaurant. They're not playing punctuation. They're just letting each other have it. So those are the first things that we would suggest do. No punctuation, remove secondary stage directions. And then when you're getting into learning the lines, number one, ideally you do it live, right? Ideally you have a partner, ideally an actor partner, and you can be reading it and running it with them. I think that's the best way to learn it. Often we don't have that, so we'll talk about how to do it on your own. And often for TV and film, you're never even meeting your scene partner until the day that you come out of the makeup chair and you walk up on set. You might have a couple of rehearsals for camera or for blocking, and then you're right into it. So usually there's no opportunity to like work it out with a scene partner, but acting normally is done between two humans. So if you have another human that's willing to run it and you start to hear them and you start to get their reactions and your reactions, I think that's a great way to do it. Brandon?
Now, for me, working and rehearsing is a very private situation for me. So I usually don't work with a partner when I'm first starting to work on my lines. So what I will do is I will go through and cover my lines and read out the other person's lines and then hit my cue, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And because I am a very visual person, that gives me a clear image of the page in my mind. And that helps me bring it into my body. And I know the cue. I know what I'm sort of looking for, but it also allows me the opportunity to read how I think the other person would say it. And then when it differs, when I'm in rehearsal with another person, I allow that to change how I'm doing things, because I don't want to get into a rhythm of how to say something, because then I am endowing something with a performance rather than working on it and then letting the performance affect me in the moment.
Right. Yeah, that's a great note. With all of these, you never want to lock in, and it's got to be in you. But then the idea when you're performing on the day, whether it's on stage or on camera, is that you're a real live human being in that real life situation. And most times in life, we haven't pre-planned and rehearsed how we're going to respond because we can't, because we don't know what the other person's going to say. So it's that idea of then remember to forget, remember to be in the moment. And you're right. I'm the same with you. Like I say, find a partner and read it with them, but you don't need that at all. So if you're like, oh, I don't have anyone around, and maybe this shouldn't even be number one. Maybe the time is personal, because I'm the same way as well. I like to have spent a good chunk of it time on my own before I am fully doing it live. And that's just so I can make my choices and explore it. Really, if rehearsal is like being in a sandbox and you're exploring and you're playing and you're making discoveries and saying things different ways, then that's your private time. And all of this, the reco that we've been given is say your lines 250 times. And if you're like, man, that's a lot. Yeah, because that will remove all of those imposter syndrome and doubts and nerves. And if you're wondering how to do that, you can go on to Amazon and you just get one of these door clickers. And literally you can be walking around your apartment or go for a walk. And just every time you complete the monologue or the scene, just snap one off. And then that makes it very quantitative as well. So if you decided like, okay, I got a week to do this, I want to do 250. Let's say I got 5 days that I can rehearse, then that means I got to do it 50 times on those 5 days, rather than just being like, oh, I'm going to rehearse for a little while. It's like you actually know. And I know when I was doing this, when I was in New York, it felt tedious after a while, but it also felt great. Like I'd be getting up there and be like, oh, 35, 40, 45. And you're like, fuck, I'm putting in some reps. And it starts to build, it does really build your confidence. And you feel great. And at the end of it, you're like, you actually know what you did. Because I think a lot of the times we think we're rehearsing it a lot, but we're doing it like 5 times or 10 times.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I just spent half an hour rehearsing. I also find the first little while, it's like, it does take a lot of focus and attention and concentration. And sometimes like you'll start into rehearsal and then you'll get distracted and your mind will wander, or you'll hear something or your phone will ding.
Yep.
And you're starting these rehearsals, but you're constantly getting distracted. So having something where you don't click the button until you get all the way through helps drill in that focus and that concentration, and really just make sure that you're putting in the work.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number two. Rehearse while doing an activity. So again, it's not just memorizing it up in your head to quote unquote memorize the lines. It's you got to learn the scene, and acting is head, heart, hips. It's got to get in your body. We're physical people. On the day you want to be like, by the time you get to performance, like Shakespeare says, suit the action to the word and the word to the action. And you'll get that by getting physical with your body. So start with some actions and some movements and secondary actions, like on set when you go the scene. If the scene's set in the kitchen, maybe your character is making lunches, or they're doing the dishes, or they're setting the table, or they're working out, or they're going for a run, or they're mopping the floor, or they're building a deck, or they're mowing the lawn, all of these extra things. And if you've just drilled it like it's an academic exercise, like you're learning math equations and memorizing the periodic table, the second your body is thrown into, oh, we need you to be folding this laundry during the scene, and then you need to bring it over here and come over here and then go make a sandwich, you're just going to be all discombobulated. So the more you can do it in different ways, in different scenarios, it'll just lock it into your body, but not locked in a way that you can only do it one way. It'll just be in you, and it won't matter what you do. It's just there. Like I know Brandon and I last year, we'd go play basketball, and we're dribbling around and shooting, and we're running Shakespeare monologue lines, and then on a big word, taking a shot, or just on a really big action word, driving to the hoop on the action, like forward motion on driving words that are moving you forward, moving backwards on things where maybe the character is backpedaling a little bit or a little on the defense. So it's figuring out some of those motions. I know in our Alexandra class, we deal a lot with pushing motions and pulling motions. So getting your body into that, and you can work the text that way, where it's just push on some words, pull on some words, and the other one is grabbing something like a giant net and throwing it and watching it land like it's a net of words that you're throwing to capture someone, or to land your idea on them, or to pull someone into your thoughts or into your world, or to push someone away from you, depending on the dynamics of the scene. All that movement stuff will really help sink it in.
Is that similar to Chekhov's psychological gesture?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Because that's what I do as well. I do that on each different line. I'll apply a psychological gesture such as push or pull or penetrate, or I can't remember some of the other ones, but that's also something that I do. So that's interesting. What I usually do when I first start out is I do an exercise called stepping the text, which is I say whatever the line is welcome to the supermarket, and I step on each word. So welcome to the supermarket, and it immediately gets it into my body. It really helps me get the lines into my head and my body very quickly, so that I am able to go and play with them almost immediately. It is something that I have done for years when I was going to the University of Windsor and working with Gina Laurie Riley, who is a fantastic movement coach. She is huge in the Commedia dell'arte community, and she taught me that exercise, and I have used it almost every day since learning it. It is something I always go back to. Doing it with the dishes as well is also very helpful. As Tom likes to say, when you arrive on set, there's going to be a million things that are going on, and you have to be able to adapt to those different environments when you're working on the day. So doing these exercises will really, really help you with that, so that you're able to do whatever is needed and necessary on the day to make sure that you are ready and present. One of the biggest shots, or one of the most popular shots right now, is the walk and talk, where it's a long, either like alleyway or like, and it's one shot, and it's usually 1 or 2 pages, sometimes longer, and you have to walk and talk with someone while making sure you're in frame, while making sure that you're hitting all the points of the scene, while you're making sure that everything is going right on your end. And it's not an easy thing to do, and it's one of the most popular shots to do. And actors really do underestimate the amount of prep they need so that they can go in there and nail the walk and talk. So make sure you're doing activities and that you have the words in your body so that you're able to do whatever is necessary on the day when you get on set.
Yeah, and I think as we go through these, be sure if you have other rehearsal techniques that you use, share them with us. This is by no means the be all and end all. And I think, like anything, you figure out what works for you and what are your favorite techniques to use. And again, under that heading of knowing your own nervous system and knowing your own brain and your own routines, it's like you want to develop positive rehearsal and learning habits that work for you. So you might take little bits and pieces of this. And then again, like Brandon said, is so that you can do it any which way. So you basically learn it. You can do it upside down, backwards, forwards, left, right. Like you can do it any which way, because you just know it inside out. And then, maybe even you know it so well that you know the other character's line. So like your scene partner's like line, and you know exactly where you are. Or the director after a take says, "Oh, on this line where you do this," and you can almost like see the script in your head, but it's also in your body, and you know, rather than being like, "Can I see a script?" and you're like, "What is this? Oh yeah, right, I totally forgot about that." Like you really want to know it better than the writer and the director and the script supervisor, just because you've rehearsed it so much. Simba from Buffalo says, "Penetrate the lines." Nice. Sounds dirty. I don't know if there was any dirty connotation there, but penetrate the lines. Get in there. Get into them. Dig is what he means.
Yeah, really dig.
It's
really
a family show, so we won't go deeper than that. But good to see you. Simba, I know Simba's based in Buffalo, and he was a graduate of my ensemble class of Tom Todoroff Conservatory. And I believe he was accepted into a theater program, like a theater company as well. So happy to hear more about that too. Yeah. All right, number 3. Yeah, congrats,
number
Simba.
3.
Come to Toronto. Also, Simba, come to Toronto sometime. If you got a passport, come to Toronto, or we'll figure out a road trip to Buffalo or Niagara Falls or something like that, or let us know when your shows are in Buffalo. I think Daniel Greer also lives in Buffalo, and Daniel's got some summer Shakespeare shows I think I saw online, so let's do it.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Number 3, sing/use different voices.
Yeah, so this one goes along the lines of just not saying it the same way over and over with the same with the same vocal variation. So you want vocal variation versus the opposite. If you're saying it the same way, like don't prejudge it where you're like, "Oh, this is how this line is said." In your rehearsal process, say it a million different ways, even if it's ridiculous. Maybe throw an accent on, throw a dialect on, be loud, be mousy, sing lines. And not that you're going to use all of this, or not that it's all going to be appropriate, but just to discover some things. Is there a line in there that you can say sing-songy? Can you have some gameplay and role play where you put on a little voice? You're telling a story and there's another character's, you're explaining what another character said. What does their voice sound like? Mix those things up, just again, so that you're not locking it in, and also so that you're just discovering these things. You might do it and it's ridiculous and you would never do it again. Or you might do it and it's ridiculous and you're like, "Oh, but you know what? On that one line or that one word actually works. I think I might keep that." And using your own voice of like chest voice, belly voice, like full breath voice versus getting into your throat, getting to a nasal head voice, like depending on the character, you might be mixing things up there. But yeah, vocal variation we always learn is rate, inflection, pitch, and dynamics. So are you saying something soft and nice and close? Or are you throwing a line because someone's down the hallway and you're like, hey, you? Or are they right up close and you're like, hey, you? You know, like just mixing with that again, so that you're not locked into anything, and so that you're exploring things and finding discoveries. And then as you get closer and closer to audition and or performance, then you're starting to make some decisions. Okay, tonight, this is how I'm going to do this. But also some of those decisions are loose because you're waiting to see how your scene partner delivers the line. And you're going to react differently if they're speaking softly to you versus yelling at your face. You're going to be reacting a little different to that. So it wouldn't make sense if you're reacting in a way that doesn't make sense to what they were giving you. Yeah. And the other thing is, you can't say to someone, you can't after a take like, hey, I need to get angry on this line, so can you make sure that you yell this line to me? Like, that's not your place as an actor to give the other actor directions. You just got to react and respond. If the director gives them a redirect for how to feed you a line, great. But I would say that's a huge caveat, and that's a great way to have actors resent you and not feel good about you as a scene partner, is if you're directing them throughout, unless it's predetermined ahead of time that you guys are scene partners and you're directing each other. Like if you're putting together your own 2-man show, you might have a little more input that way, or creative control over each other. But it's like in life, we don't get to do that. So it's just, you react to what someone gives you, and that's it.
Yep. Yeah. And like really singing and using different voices is something to make getting to the 250 ways more interesting for you. Like if I want to hear a scene done as Kermit the Frog, I'm going to do the scene as Kermit the Frog.
That's it.
Welcome to the supermarket, everyone.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
No.
Nice.
Yeah, Kermit too.
Also, too, then your rehearsals are vocal warm-ups and vocal workouts, too. So if you're using different voices and you're using your full range and you're using some singing, then all of a sudden your rehearsals are serving the dual purpose of being a rehearsal to learn those lines for that piece, but also being a general vocal workout for yourself and your own vocal abilities.
Yeah, exactly.
Simba liked that. He liked the...
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello, Simba. I think I lost it.
Oh, hello, Simba. Welcome. Come on to the podcast. Come on.
Simba. Oh,
Simba,
hello, Simba.
Get over to Canada. Come on.
We're working on it. What about Mickey Mouse?
Oh, hello there. Come on.
Hello there, Simba.
Simba. Hey, Simba.
Oh, good to see you, Simba. Little Donald Duck.
Oh, can you do Donald Duck? I can't.
I can only laugh.
I can't do that.
That's kind of like that's also Dr. Claw's cat as well.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get you, Gadget. I'll get you, Gadget, if it's the last thing I do.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Look at us. Man of 1,000 voices. It's also fun, too. Like Brandon said, is part of that. It can be a little tedious if in your head is like, oh, fuck, I got to do this 250 times. If it's a 3-minute scene, that's 750 minutes. So
I love how we told Simba this is a family show like 20 minutes ago, and we've dropped like 3 F-bombs since then.
Oh, right. I feel like an F-bomb is more family friendly than the word penetrate for some reason. There's just some words like the word moist. I'd rather hear an F-bomb than someone say moist over and over and over again.
Really? I've never minded it, but you know. Personal preference.
Yes.
And you see how I sung that there.
Personal preference. Also, people do that in real life. Like in real life, if you see someone who's really dynamic and someone that you would classify as a character, they're using different voices. They're using their full vocal range. They're speeding up. They're slowing down. They're throwing in some intonation, or they're throwing in a little something, a little sing-songy, or some gameplay and role-playing. Like, it's actually real. Sometimes people think, oh, this is too much, I just got to use my regular voice. It's like, no, then you're not being truthful, because that's not how like normal people, when they're engaged and energized, especially if it's a scene with like where you're with your buddies or your friends and you're goofing around, like all that stuff is going to come to play. And humor plays, and mischief and all that kind of stuff is like that's what makes someone undeniable, and someone that you can't take your eyes off, because they're constantly surprising you as well. You're watching an actor and it's like, oh, his voice is all over the place. Physically, he's doing some cool stuff. He's totally in his body, and he's making proper gestures and movements on words that make sense, rather than just flailing with no meaning or no purpose to it. So yeah, it just makes things more real and more powerful. Makes you a better storyteller as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And number 4? Was there a 4?
Nope. We're only doing 3.
We're only doing 3.
But your post-rehearsal, check in with yourself. How did you feel about that? Maybe write a journal entry about how you felt. Just do the checklist of the guideposts, viewpoints, and vocal variation from the Tom Todoroff technique, and just do a check-in. Just make sure that you're hitting all the points that you wanted to hit, that you kept going for the thing that you're fighting for. How was your relationship that time? Could you enhance any part of that? Are you starting in the same point that you end up? Double check. Make sure you're asking yourself those questions after you do a rehearsal, so that way you know what's going on and what you want to work on for your next one. Because you go into one rehearsal, you're going to have another one the next day.
That's a great note, is just to be intentional with your rehearsals as well. Go in thinking, like our rehearsal manuals through Todoroff technique is each rehearsal to be working on at least 2 specific guideposts. So 2 aspects of your performance or of the scene, to go in with intentions to discover and unearth some of those things. If you haven't taken classes with Tom, you could also check out the book Audition by Michael Shirtliff, which outlines 12 of the guideposts. Tom has added 3 to his technique, but this is the idea of being specific and being intentional, going in with a game plan. And the other thing that I would say is, when you're rehearsing, really important, no matter what you're doing action-wise, or stepping the text, or singing, or using a voice, I think it's important, mean it every time.
Yeah.
So don't say things that you don't believe, or I think there's a danger sometimes where people will just like run through lines where they'll just be like, but there's no like actual intention or gravitas or truth or meaning to it. So I think no matter what, even if you're doing it as Kermit the Frog or Mickey Mouse, mean what you say, have the intention and the feeling behind it, and the idea that why are you saying these things? You're saying these things because you're fighting for something. You're saying things because you want to affect your scene partner, and you want them to see things your way, or you want them to do the things that you want to do. Whatever it is that you're fighting for in the scene, is don't waste those. Don't say the words just to say the words.
Yeah. Say
it with intention and meaning and feeling, and check yourself. If you're like, I didn't believe that, then that's a good learning point, to be like, oh, you got to say this stuff and mean it every time. You can't just be saying words that aren't attached to any feeling or emotion or action or want or need. It's like you're always talking to get something and to get a result and to fight for something in a scene.
All right. We're coming up on time. Do you want to hear a quote, Lars?
Please, how about a quote to inspire my week?
This quote today comes from Lady Gaga, and she says, "Don't you ever let a soul in the world tell you you can't be exactly who you are. Be who you are. Be unique. That's what makes you, you, and that's what makes us fall in love with you each time when you're performing. Keep you as you and discover all the things that you can about yourself and the scene that you're working on so that you have so much fun with it, because that's what this is about. It's about having fun with the scenes or the monologue or the piece that you're working on.
And if it can't be you, be Kermit the Frog
or Mickey Mouse."
Yes. So thank you for tuning in today. Be sure to reach out to us. You can hit us up at Laughing Vikings or at Actors Audition Club on Instagram. Don't forget that you can suggest episode topics if you got questions about your own career and your own actor life that you think we might be able to help with. Do that. Hit that subscribe button. Smash it, smash it, smash it. We do this every week, and stay tuned for our next live workshop. We're going to release the date soon. It'll be sometime likely in the middle of July. We're going to do another Audition Hero. And if you're really itching, you can actually go access the videos instantly from our last Audition Hero workshop at laughingvikings.com/audition hero. All the replays from January are still there. But we got a new one in the works, and we're going to add to it, and we're going to beef it up, and it's going to be a great training of international actors all over the world coming together to improve their auditions and their audition process. So check that out, and we'll see you at the next episode, number 90.
Number 91. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Later, everybody.